Priorities say...
Sarah.
Prime Minister, if a lot of people are looking for hope and reassurance from their political leaders at the moment. If people do all the right things through this lockdown, stay home, get tested, get vaccinated, what do you hope life looks like in Australia come Christmas? Can you give people the reassurance that if they do the right thing, they'll be able to see their families, they'll be able to travel interstate?
Good question. As I said, our vaccination rates are now running, we're even doing better than 1 million a week. And the upgraded advice from ATAGI, the revised advice from ATAGI, means that we're going to get much more effectiveness out of the AstraZeneca vaccine doses that we have available. And I commend the New South Wales governments on opening those walk-in clinics. I would encourage other state and territory governments to be looking at similar initiatives. The AstraZeneca vaccine is a safe vaccine. It's an effective vaccine. It saved lives all around the world. It's the most recognised vaccine in the world by all countries, particularly when they're looking at people travelling. It is more recognised even than Pfizer. And so this vaccine is really important. And I'd encourage people to take their initiative, use their informed consent, get informed through their GP, go and get it at the clinic, at the pharmacist, at any of these places, and ensure we continue to build these vaccination rates. The Pfizer doses are, of course, increasing, but the AstraZeneca is there, and that gets us to our goal a lot faster. Now, with what we're seeing, bar any unforeseen events, then I believe by the end of the year we will be in that position where everyone who's had the opportunity for a vaccine will have had it. And to ensure that Australians have joined that task in achieving the highest vaccination rates possible, well, I would expect by Christmas we will be seeing a very different Australia to what we're seeing now. What we're seeing overseas is when countries do reach those much higher vaccination rates, then that does give their governments a lot more options in the suppression limitations they have to use to deal with the virus. Lockdowns become a thing of the past when you're at that level, and I've noted we'll be considering those issues from the Doherty report modelling. It's being brought together now with the Treasury modelling. That process is happening right now. I don't want to say that will be resolved on Friday. That'll be our first discussion. I suspect many more will be required after that, and I hope we'll be able to set those targets and give more definition to phase 2 and phase 3 in that time. But we have a plan for that. We are setting the targets scientifically, combined with the economic advice as well, and that gets us a roadmap to Christmas, I think, that means that we'll be living life different at Christmas than what we are now. Phil?
About the fourth time you've had to tweak the income and business assistance since the start of last month, and yet you've raised the threshold for business assistance now down to can't talk in this bloody thing, sorry, up to 250 million. Do you envisage that'll be the end of the matter, or, I mean, I know you never say never, or may you have to go further for larger companies if New South Wales keeps going?
Well, we never set and forget. I think that's been important. And you'll remember last year, JobKeeper wasn't our first announcement to deal with the pandemic. From memory, it was our third, because we kept upgrading it. And we responded to the evolving nature of the pandemic as we understood at that time. Our first response, from memory, was around $17 billion. And I'll tell you what, that sounded like a lot at the time. By the time we got to JobKeeper, well, it was minnowed. And what that tells you, Phil, is that there's no guidebook to COVID. Even when you think you understand it, the Delta variant comes along and it changes all the rules and you've got to adjust. And I think one of the things Australia has done, and I know National Cabinet's had its critics and its baggers, but I tell you what, the fact we meet every week and we work over this, and then we make the changes, and then we adapt, and we listen to each other, and then we fine-tune our programs, that has been enormously valuable. And we've got to retain that adaptability and that flexibility, and we've got to meet the problem in front of us, because I can tell you, the problem in front of you keeps changing quite quickly. That's not unique to Australia. It's the same everywhere in the world. Now, you make the point about larger businesses. The advantage of larger businesses is they're operating right across the country. Their operations aren't confined to New South Wales. So this measure really does focus on those businesses that are predominantly impacted by their operations in New South Wales. So if they've had a 30% fall in their turnover, well, they would have a heavy set towards New South Wales. Now, we'll keep looking at those issues, and there are some specific sectoral issues there which I think are relevant, that have particularly acute impacts from these things. But more broadly, at this point, it's not our advice that that would be needed.